All right, here we go. Yeah, we're live, I believe. Hey, welcome everybody. This is Unpopular Viewpoint. I'm Bruce Poppy, and I am super excited. This is kind of take two. If you're with me at 4 o'clock, there was some time thing. I can't do math, obviously. I know that my guest, Mr. Kurek Ashley, is in Brisbane, Australia. He's plus 15 hours. Then there was some thing. It was my fault. I screwed it up. So we're take two. We're here live with Mr. Kurek Ashley from Brisbane, Australia. Just do a quick intro about him. He is known as the Transformer. Some of his bio on his website says Kurek is more than just a professional speaker. He is not renowned as the Transformer because he has astounding ability to help people transform their lives forever. This isn't just some up and down motivation thing. In business, disease, or dis-ease, whatever area of life is holding you from achieving your dream results, that's what he does, and that's what he's after. He's been doing this for a long time. He's also got a fantastic book. I got the audio book. I've been on my second time through it. It's How Would Love Respond? So please help me welcome Mr. Ashley Kurek. Thank you, sir, for taking some time. Appreciate you.
You got it, Bruce. And so you don't piss off Australians, it's Brisbane.
Brisbane.
Yeah, it's all right. It's an American thing that we say Brisbane when we're here. So
Yeah,
it's Brisbane.
The English language the Americans speak is probably one of the most screwed up languages on the planet. So yeah, we're always screwing things up that way. Give it to Go America.
Oh, it looks like it. I mean, there's a lot of names here that when I first got here, I was down in Victoria and I said, can you tell me where Wagga Wagga is? And they're like, there's no Wagga Wagga, And they're like, yeah, WJ, WJ. And they're, oh, you mean Wagga Wagga? Like, man, help me out here. Like you couldn't figure it out. And then down Geelong, and I said Geelong, and they're like, no, there's no Geelong. I'm like Geelong, and they're like, because it's Aboriginal
Right.
language, so that's why.
And so I know that you have you're from Chicago area, which is where I'm from. I grew up in the burbs. I grew up in Hanover Park, near Shaw, Elgin area, right around there is the old stomping grounds. Then you moved to LA, got some into movie stuff. So tell us a little bit of your background, how your movie stuff, and how you end up to becoming and living in Australia.
Sure. Well, the neat thing is you and I grew up very close to each other. I went to high school in Lombard.
Okay.
So I went to Glenbard East. So, but I grew up in Chicago and I started my acting career at Second City when I was 12 years old. I lied about my age and got on stage there for like 5 years. I worked with Jim Belushi, George Wendt from Cheers, Tim Kazurinsky, and then left for LA when I was 18 years old. Took me 3 years to get my first job. I thought I was going to be discovered any minute. So I showed up to LA with like $200 in my pocket. So this wasn't a really planned out thing that I was doing. And then, I just started, figuring out how to get into the industry and how to work. And one of my first speaking role was called Two of a Kind with John Travolta, Olivia Newton-John. And I tell a story in my book about when John and I became friends and he wanted to take me out to dinner. And I said, yeah, I'll meet you at the restaurant. He's like, no, I'll pick you up. And I was like, John, I live in the Hotel Cadillac. He's like, Hotel Cadillac? And I said, yeah. And I told him, and he goes, that's a residential neighborhood, Kirk. There's no hotels there. And I said, oh, you'll see it. And it turns out I lived in a 1972 Coupe de Ville Cadillac that wasn't even a mobile home anymore because it broke down months earlier. And I spent like a year and a half in that car. And, then I started learning how to work in the industry. And then also I started working behind the camera. And as a key and dolly grip, and I was the assistant to a director for 13 years. So, it was my home to work in the movies. And then, I was always into personal development, even in high school, but it was more of a sideline. And then in 1989, I was doing Delta Force 2 with Chuck Norris. I just finished Lockup with Sylvester Stallone. I'm off to the Philippines to do Delta Force 2 with Chuck Norris. So I'm on cloud nine. I'm working with two of my icons. And because I work so much behind the camera, I've done over 500 films. Well, the key grip on Delta Force 2 is my best friend, Don Marshall, the lighting director. He's on the show. Jeff Brewer, one of the stunt guys. So we're having a blast in the Philippines. And then on one fateful day, I survived a helicopter crash where 5 guys died, and Mike died in my arms. He was on fire when I carried him out. And so my life went into a real bad tailspin. drugs, smoking, weed, booze. I mean, I wasn't partying. I was just trying to kill myself. Thank God I'm not a success at everything in life. And
I know.
and then
Hate to make fun. Hate to make fun, or but yeah, that's one of the things I'm thankful for. Because after listening to your book and hearing you go through the story of all the times, the nights that you spent, with your weapon in your mouth, I'm so grateful, and so many hundreds of thousands of people around the planet are as well, that you weren't committed to the success of your operation back then.
well, Bruce, thank you for saying that. That's part of it that what really changed it for me, because I started thinking about, if my five friends had an opportunity to be alive right now and saw my behavior, they'd be going, dude, if I was in your seat, I wouldn't be putting a gun in my mouth every night. I'd be living. And so I made that transformation of, instead of being a victim to all these things, that now I'm going to honor my friends and do what I could do best on this planet and make it a better place, so that if I ever ask them one day when I see them again, that you could have your life back, but all the transformation I've done with so many people around the world would go away, or you let your dust stand. But the transformation also stands. I know all five of my friends would say, let it stand, because I wanted my life to count for something. And so I've been, around the world doing what I do. I finally let go of the movie industry, because I thought if I got famous, somebody would want to hear me speak. But when you play bad guys in the movies, nobody really wants to hear your story. And I realized that also I'm sending an incongruent message. I'm teaching one thing, but then I'm playing these vicious characters in movies and stuff. And it just was, too separate of a message. And so once I let go of the movies, my career went through the roof. Somebody asked me to come out and save them, their business in Australia, and then never paid me for a year and left me homeless here. So I was actually homeless in two countries at the same time, because I couldn't even fly home to be homeless. And then I just turn the engines on and do what you teach. And I've been here 25 years now.
That's fantastic. So what was the biggest, I mean, other than the helicopter, and I highly recommend, if you have not yet, go get the book, How Would Love Respond? The story he goes through that situation with the helicopter actually brought tears to my eyes. I got the audio book, and you're actually narrating the audiobook, and it brought tears to my eyes. And you talked about the personal development stuff in high school. I've always been myself, into the personal development stuff, but I think it's even more important now, as we're going through this somewhat of a transformation, in society. There's lots of negative stuff that I believe, if we go, get people to move along the path of personal development, being the best version of themselves they can be, I think we're going to be better off as a humanity as a whole. So that's why I wanted to bring you on and expose you to my audience and other people, just so they can know and see, hey, this stuff actually works. And you were able to turn around, like you said, being homeless in two different countries, and on drugs and all kinds of other stuff, and turn that thing around to be a successful transformer. How did you end up getting the name The Transformer?
It's funny that you asked that, Bruce, is because it's all coming back to life again. Is that in 2008, I was approached by Steve McLaughlin, who produced I, Robot with Will Smith, and a Hollywood writer who for Disney, Marty Weiss. And because of challenges that Marty had with his daughter in Beverly Hills, getting involved in Mexican gangs and stuff, and then finding out that this is a rampant problem in Beverly Hills, because we've glamorized that whole gang life through movies and videos and stuff. And obviously they're taking advantage of these Beverly Hill kids, because they're obviously not really part of the gang. Marty had to send his daughter to a deprogramming camp in Montana. It cost him like $250,000 a year. And so he said, we got to do a show about this, to help kids, because this problem's rampant. And Steve said, there is only one guy. It's Kurek. He lives in Australia now, but I know him really well. And I've done like 9 movies with Steve when I used to be in the industry. And so the show's called The Transformer. And it just is kind of, here's the funny part about it. We went to all the studios, all the networks. Every one of the executives of the studio said, man, I will force my kids to watch this show, but I won't produce it. We said, what? And they go, no, you got no fighting, no drama, no drunkenness. You're just trying to help people. And I said, yeah. And they go, that's not TV. You know, look at reality TV. People want the drama. And so the show's now coming back to life. And Steve's back involved, and it looks like we're going to get the green light to produce the show now. So it's just one of those terms that somebody tagged on me. And it's because I've helped a woman with schizophrenia who had 7 personalities and harmonized her into one person. People have cured them of cancer. A gentleman here in Australia cured him of Tourette syndrome. People have been told it's impossible to have kids. I'll have children now. Some have asked me, how do you turn it off? Because I got screaming kids in the house. And I go, that part I didn't actually teach. So, and then also people's businesses.
I don't know if you froze or I froze. You froze up for a second.
Oh, sorry. Welcome to Australian internet. We got worse internet in Zimbabwe. Trans means to go beyond. ATION means the experience of. His form represents what you have now. So transformation means the experience to go beyond what you have right now. And that's what I do with people is never am I judging somebody. It's always about how do we make this better?
Right. That's what we have to do. I mean, that if there, and now many of the people, many of the different personal development programs that I've been a part of, all the way from Zig Ziglar all the way up, Tony Robbins, and everybody else. One of the things that I've found crazy, and this is, a testament, I believe, to you, the resonance is something about your book. I've heard a lot of the principles of success and, changing your life and doing things, developing yourself are fairly the same, simple-ish, as far as the framework goes. But there's something about the way that you presented it. It just hit me like a 2x4 upside the head. And it completely resonated me. It was like flipping a switch. So that's why I encourage other people to listen to different things, because somebody, you yourself or Tony, anybody else, doing this type of work can say the same exact thing, but it might resonate better coming from you. So I always encourage people to hear different voices. And be able to, find somebody that resonates with you, because the information and what we need to do to be able to turn our lives around is key. And it's not just, success as far as money. That's what a lot of people, because you talk about in your book, the holistic aspect, and not HOL, not holistic like natural, but whole, everything, right? Your relationships, business, finances, health, all that. You bring it all together under one roof. So how did you get into the holistic aspect of what you're doing?
Well, Bruce, one of the things I've done is I study my whole life. I've studied because I've always been very passionate about human behavior, and I've studied successful people and I've studied unsuccessful people, and it's both valuable. When you do that, and I still do it to this day, is you see that there's actually only 2 formulas. One to be successful and one to be, well, unsuccessful. The unsuccessful one is don't use the one for success. It's just quite easy. But the successful one, it works in all areas of our life. So people say, now, wait a minute, are you saying the same thing that got me in shape is the same thing that's going to make me money? And I go, yes. And they go, wait, how's working out going to get me money? I go, no, that's the activity. The formula is the same. And so when you break that down, like the first part is that we have to reinvent ourselves. We can't be who we used to be and expect different results. And we also can't expect that we're going to sit here and the universe is going to come find you and drop everything that you want in your lap. Is that you have to get on the frequency of what you want. And so you'll see that it's just one thing, but really, what's the point of being rich if you're sick? Or what's the point of being wealthy if you're lonely? So it's about having everything that you want in your life. And I would say that the creator put us on the planet and put all this amazing experiences on the planet so we could enjoy it, not tease us with it, because that would be a cruel tyrant. So, the Bible says, I'm not religious. My mom was Jewish. My dad was Christian. I was just confused. But the Bible says, if you do not know love, you do not know God, because God is love. So that loving entity would want you to have everything, to have it all, to experience a wonderful, loving relationship. And what I've really discovered out of all of this is that every issue we have is a self-love issue. I mean, if you really love yourself, would you allow yourself to stay poor or be in an abusive relationship or smoke cigarettes or inject drugs or whatever that is? That's not how love responds. Love would want you to have everything and everybody else to have everything, but just not at the cost, because a lot of people are playing the lose win game. They're sacrificing themselves for everybody else. But with my son, I want my son to see that I have a life too, and I want to be happy and I want to be loved and the rest of the stuff, because that's the example I'm setting for him into his life. Because
Sure.
whatever you're filled with, you're going to spread to everybody else on the planet and everybody around you. So fill yourself with happiness and love and abundance, and you'll fill yourself with that. But you also notice that people are pissed off, angry, scarce, and the rest of the stuff. They have no problem spreading it to everybody.
Oh, absolutely. And there's a lot of in today's society with if you're watching the news and different things going on, there's a lot of fear, a lot of doomsday type stuff going on. What would you suggest for somebody that to other than to just unplug and not watch the TV, to live your life and not be bogged down with that fear?
I would start with unplugging your TV and not watching it anymore, because it's not even news anymore. It's just made up to scare you. Because if you look at society from the early days of mankind, the Egyptians and whatever, that, the way that you control the masses is through fear. Like the Egyptians, every time there was a new pharaoh, they would change the gods because nobody was afraid of the old ones. So they would change the religion so that we had somebody to fear again. So that would be number one thing. Also, the formula for all creation is thoughts that can turn into actions, produce the results. So the key is that we have to learn how to be a free thinker. Napoleon Hill, who wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, said you have to be the guardian at the gate. You got to decipher what you allow into your head or not, because those other thoughts are going to create chaos and havoc to your life. So, let's bring up the COVID thing for a second, and people are, because the battle between vaxxers and anti-vaxxers is the most comical thing ever. The reason being is if you're vaccinated, why would you worry about people who aren't? But it was so propagated because the powers that be right now, they'd rather have us fighting each other than us ganging up on them and stopping them from what they're doing. So that they're separating us. But again, that's a normal, if you read The Art of War, that's in there. Separate them. Get them going after each other. And so we have to learn how to be free thinkers. So with the COVID thing is right when it was happening, I said, time will tell the truth who was correct, the vaxxers or anti-vaxxers. Like, who did it work for? Well, as you see now, it's kind of been backed up on us where it was actually the anti-vaxxers who got it right, because people in the vaccine are dying in droves and being sterile and birth defects and the rest of these things that are going on. And I'm not taking a side. My point being is that you have to find out what's right for you and make those decisions in yourself. But if somebody wanted to get vaccine and it brings you peace, God bless you. I mean, I'm still in awe where I see people driving around in their car by themselves and they're still wearing a mask.
Yeah.
I'm like, who's in your car? There's nobody in your car with you. But they're so propagated into the fear. And so by a free thinker is to just, Judge Judy she's one of my mentors. She always says, if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, you got to check in and go, something here doesn't make sense.
Sure.
Great. Then start going, what's right for me? What's right for me? And also the greater good. So not just for me. And then I obviously, step on everybody else around me, but what's great for me and the greater good? And then if you just start asking questions, because the quality of our life is determined by the quality of our communication, and the quality of our communication is determined by the quality of questions we ask. So learn how to start asking better questions, and you'll activate that free thinking mode, not the programmed one.
Absolutely. Yeah. Questions. That's how you learn. I mean, I ask questions all the time. I mean, I question everything. That's what we have to do nowadays, because like you'd mentioned, the news or whatever's on the TV is, fake and made up stuff. So you got to question everything. You can't trust the stuff, the stuff that we've been told to trust our entire lives is turning out to be fake, phony, and false. So
Yep.
we have to be connected. I talk about on my show that I do on a regular basis. The universe gave me these 3 steps, these 3 things. How do we get through life? And number one is it's all about connections. Connection number 1, you got to be connected to source or universe, God, whatever you want to call it, because that's the ultimate source of truth. That's where you're going to, get all that information. Secondly, you got to love be connected to yourself. You had mentioned that, dealing with maybe some past traumas, working on yourself. If you're going to love your neighbor as yourself, you got to love yourself first, right? So you might as well, get through and work loving yourself. Then the third connection is connecting to other people, using what you have changed through connection 1 and 2 to affect and help, connection number 3. And that's why I appreciate so much all the stuff that you do. I got the book. I went through, you got on your website, which is Ashley Kurek. Kurek Ashley. KurekAshley.com. It's in the description of the video here. You offer a 3-day course or 3-part video series, how to get out of your own bad mood, controlling your thoughts.
Yeah, because any mood that doesn't support your happiness or success is deemed as a bad mood. So, because a lot of people, I'm not in a bad mood. I go, well, if it's not supporting your happiness and your success, it's a bad mood. When you watch the videos, especially after the first one, people go, oh my God, that first video changed my life. I can't believe you're giving this away. The thing we were talking about just a moment ago with television is you got to remember, if you look at the word, they put it right in front of our faces from the beginning. Tell a vision. They're telling you what to see. And they do it through a thing called programming. So you got to understand that's not free thinking. They're actually putting in your head what you want. Instead, if you work on your moods, your emotions, because Bruce, that's the number one key distinction between successful people, and I mean holistically successful, and average people, which are the masses. Now, just so you understand, the masses, the number one most consumed drug on the planet are known as antidepressants. That would mean the majority of people are depressed. Most people don't have any goals. Most people get married only to get divorced, to get married again, to get divorced again. 60% of the population is overweight and out of shape. Now, obesity has hit epidemic proportions. Here in Australia, we had a 10-year-old die of a heart attack from being obese, right? So there's a difference. Well, we all go through the same stuff, everybody. We all have fear. We all have doubt. We all have insecurity, right? Everybody does. We all went through COVID drama. We all went through the global financial crisis. It was so cool. We had to give it an acronym, the GFC. By the way, more people died from KFC than GFC, right? But I don't see people freaking out over the kernel, right? So the key distinction between the two groups, since we all go through the same stuff, is successful people, we learned how to manage how we think and feel differently. Because and that's exactly what you were saying with those 3 connections that you have, is that when you're feeling connected to source and you're feeling connected to yourself and others through managing your emotions, how you think and feel, well, then you're going to respond differently. And because we all go through the same stuff. So as an example, global financial crisis, people were selling their homes at a discount price because they were just trying to get out before the market tanked or whatever. And successful people were buying them. They were like, discount on homes today. Let's buy them up. So as you see, we're all going through the same stuff. We just got to manage how we think and feel differently. And that's going to be an ongoing daily thing that we got to work on, because some days you wake up and life just hits you. You don't know why. You wake up and you're down, you're depressed, you're anxious, whatever that is. We got to manage it. And then from managing, so instead of trying to get rid of it, you just manage it, because you probably won't get rid of it. That's probably an impossible thing. And by the way, all those uncomfortable things that we feel, well, those are calls to action to do something different. They're actually trying to get you what you want, right? But it's like a warning signal. Hey, you got to put oil in your car. Well, the light comes on. Well, that's what it is. It's like a warning light saying you're going the wrong direction. Change what you're doing. Put a new action into play.
Sure. So the management of the thoughts. I mean, that I'll go all the different people you've worked with. Corporates, sports stars, movie stars, all these different people you've helped. The difference between the ones that are holistically successful and the masses is the way that they manage the thoughts, right? Because you talked about in your book about that being the key to creation, right? Is thoughts.
It is. Well, everything that you see around us, everything that's ever been created, started as an idea. Somebody put it into action, and that produced the result. Matter of fact, you yourself started as a thought. Your parents said, "Hey, I think I'm gonna have kids tonight," and there we were. My dad said, "Hey, I'm drunk tonight. Your mom looks good." I'm sorry, I'm kidding. but it's all, and then once that baby starts thinking, life has began. But if that baby never starts thinking, it's born dead.
There's
So it's the
probably
thought. By the way, your body is a manifestation of your thought. The body doesn't think, the brain doesn't think. Those are just organs. Otherwise, you'd be dead and your brain would still be thinking. It's not. We're a manifestation of the thought. And every thought we have biochemically changes your whole body. Like if you laugh and you're laughing so hard that you cry, or you cry because you're sad, they can analyze those tears and say he was laughing here, crying here, because they're different tears.
hadn't thought about that one.
The dis-ease of our mind creates the disease of our body. That's why that's the word, dis-ease.
Right, we're not at ease.
Yeah.
So how often do you are you doing a lot of traveling around, doing speaking events, or are you kind of homebodied there in Australia? I know I was talking with Robert, and I want to thank Robert here, give him a shout out. I should have done it from the beginning. Robert and Braley from Renegade Media News is the one who connected us, made that connection. So I'm super grateful to him for that. But he said you were in the States not long ago, right?
I just came back. My son and I, we were in Vegas for like 12 days because I had a bunch of speaking engagements. I was filming on a TV show. Part of the TV show, my son's, well, he just turned 12, but he was 11 when we were in Vegas. And they had him sit down for like a stand-in for lighting. And then the producer came over and she hands him like a little worry stone and teaches him how to use it. And he goes, "Oh, what's this for?" And then she mics him up and she said, "I want you to interview your dad." And he's like, "What?" And so she gave him some direction and he looks at the camera and he says, "Hi, I'm Elijah Ashley in Las Vegas, interviewing Kurek Ashley, my dad," and hits it and does the most amazing interview. There was times I almost forgot to answer the question because I was so in awe watching him, like, how did you pull this off so quick? And then because one of my clients, his brother is Adam Scheffler from ESPN. And so we got tickets to a Raiders game. We went to a hockey game. And then my son plays basketball. So we went to Chicago and had floor seats, center court for a Chicago Bulls game. And he got his hat signed by one of his favorite Bulls players.
Very nice. See,
it was a great trip.
Absolutely. So if you were to, I want to encourage people to go to your website and sign up for your newsletter, take that 3-video part course and get the book. And even there's some videos that you have on YouTube. I watched the most recent one. You were at a somewhere doing a event speaking, and you went through the whole walking on glass thing at the very end there. Yeah. And I know you have some connection too in the past with Tony Robbins, correct?
Yes, I spent 5 years on the road with Tony. I taught all the health and fitness at his programs, and also did all kinds of coached some of his clients with him and those things. Tony in those days had like 400 people in the seats, and his goal was that one day we'd get to 1,000, which I helped him do, which is great. But I'm also the world record holder for firewalking. I did 266 feet at 1,200-degree coals. I take tens of thousands of people firewalking. I've taken thousands and thousands of people walking on broken glass, which, by the way, makes the firewalk look tame for people. And so that video you watched, that was just in Sydney. And the funniest part is I asked some volunteers to come up on stage. They didn't know what they were going to do. And then I broke out the glass. One guy just freaks out. So I go, "Well, you're going first," after me, that is. And but wow, what a transformation in that guy when he made it across. And in Singapore, I had 850 people going across 15 lanes of broken glass, and we'd have one cut, which is normal. Anybody can teach you how to get hurt. But the reason we use some of these activities is to show people what you think is impossible isn't. And if I can do this that I thought was impossible, what else have I been telling myself is impossible that's been holding me back from everything I want in life?
Right. I mean, that's the my weak link. Is we all have knowledge of what to do. And it's making that step to actually the action part of it. That's the hard part.
Yeah. Well, my mom, she was a serious alcoholic. My mom could drink a half a gallon of scotch or vodka in a night.
Holy cow.
And then she had some other behavioral problems that happened after that, which would be known as violence. And I watched my mom knock out 2 Chicago police officers. One hit each, dropped them. And then obviously the other 6 police officers took her down. But my mom, I called her up and I said, this is a number of years ago. And I said, Mom, I'm coming to Chicago, got a big program on. Love to have you see what I do. I want to warn you that there's a firewalk involved. Now you don't have to do it and you will. And Mom, I want to warn you that alcohol comes out of your pores when you sweat and it's flammable. And it happened to another woman where her leg started on fire and she caused us $200,000 in insurance claims, burning up the hotel and carpeting on fire and stuff. And I said, Mom, you being a drunk you are, your body will burst into spontaneous combustion, your wig will start on fire. And as you fall over, writhing in pain, these people are so motivated, they're going to firewalk right over the top of you. Anyways, Bruce, it was a story I made up for my mom, but she believed me. And so my mom didn't have a drink for like a week or two leading up to the program. We go out to the firewalk. We got 15 lanes of fire going because we have like 2,000 people in attendance. And my mom doesn't show up on my fire lane. I have no idea where she is. Well, after we all finish, we're heading back into the seminar room. One of the staff taps me on the shoulder and says, hey, Kurek, isn't that your mom in the parking lot standing over there by herself? And I'm like, oh my God, something happened. I said, Mom, you okay? And she goes, your mom is a firewalker. I'm like, whoa, you need to calm down. My mom on that night said, if I can do this that I thought was impossible, giving up alcohol is easy. And my mom went clean and sober. And for the next 18 years of her life until she passed away, my mom was clean and sober. And what an amazing woman, and get to see who she really was without the alcohol in her system and the rest of those things. So that's the power of that firewalk and having some of those experiences.
Wow. I mean, so is it with the what do you think was the more of the triggering factor for your mom to stop drinking? The fact that you told her the story that she might burst into flames and embarrass you, or that she was fearful of dying because of her bursting into flames?
Well, you know, Bruce, the thing about the firewalk is if you do the firewalk by itself, it's just a stunt. You know, like I get asked to do firewalks with celebrities and stuff on TV shows around the world. And I always say, I don't do stunts. But if you let me work with the person and we'll do some goal setting and give some meaning to the firewalk, then when you watch them firewalk and that look on their face afterwards, it's a life changer. So there's a video on YouTube where I take John Rooney, a gold medal Olympian, firewalking, but I worked with her for a couple hours before the show. And when she crosses, man, that look on her face, and she bursts into tears. And she said, this is by far the most powerful thing I've ever done. She said, I wish I would have had you at the Olympics. And I said, ma'am, you won the gold medals. I don't know if you needed me. She goes, yeah, but I would have enjoyed it.
Oh, wow.
And so, you know, it's the content, it's the transformation that happens in the workshop, really. So that's what you add into the firewalk, which gives it so much meaning. So it's really about, again, the holisticness of what my mom went through that night. I think the firewalk was just that physical activity. That's what it's about, to show yourself, wait a minute, everything I learned in the room, we now put into action right away. And now I have proof this really works.
Sure. So if you were to give somebody, you know, just starting off, somebody brand new, what is the first thing is you try to work through or get, you know, to break through, or to you find out where they're at so you know where you need to take them? Or do you already have a plan in mind? Everybody's pretty much the same. It's a wash, rinse, repeats type of situation.
You know, Bruce, I get asked that quite a bit. The thing is that I don't have a plan in my head, because if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. You know, life doesn't go to plan. So instead, I just get very present and I just pick up where a person is. So like the woman who had 7 personalities, she was a diagnosed schizophrenic, and she's in New Zealand. I've never met her before, but somehow we're getting all these emails in my office from a bunch of different people. And my staff comes in and said, man, we're getting all these emails. I said, well, just print them up and give them me in my office. And I'm looking at them, and then I realize it's the same email address. I go, she's a schizophrenic, because each one's written differently. You know, right. You can see there's personality there. And so I said, look, I wrote each one of them, treated them with respect. And I said, look, thank you for asking for me to help. Her name's Joe. But you know, it's a client coaching privilege thing. You know, I can't discuss the case to anybody else. So just have Joe contact me. And so about a night later, we're closing up, and the staff comes up to me and says, she's on the phone. I go, who? And they go, Joe. And I go, okay, put it through to my office. And they go, what are you going to do? I said, I have no idea, but I will tell you, my outcome is I won't leave my office until she's one harmonized human being. And 5.5 hours later, I came out and she was one harmonized human being. And, you know, I get very present and it tells me where to go with it. And I just heard from the woman recently. It's 20 years later, and she's still one harmonized human being.
Wow. So I mean this is the true gifting you have. Did this come through your experience in the crash and what you went through with Mike and all that stuff? Didn't the book kind of come out of that? You know, it was something with like a download, if you will, some information that gave you the book of, you know, How Would Love Respond?
Well, yes, that came when I said it to a client once. You know, I was talking about different things, and I said, "Well, how would love respond? You know, if you identified yourself as love, the most powerful force in the universe, how would you respond to everything that happens in your life?" And then as soon as I said, I go, "Oh my goodness, I got to write that book because that's the most powerful question ever." And now the whole book is about how do you get to that question? What's the power of it, and how do you use it appropriately? And you know, my experience with Mike in the crash, and certainly what happened afterwards, is I was gifted with some profound knowledge, I guess. But the funny part, Bruce, is I've been doing this since high school. You know, I just kind of forgot about it. But once I quit the movies and I went to a high school reunion, I think it was like my 20th reunion or something, I thought people were going to be shocked because I was an actor since I was 12. And people said, actually, what you do now is what you always did. You used to have little seminars in the hallways with us and talk about goals and dreams and how do you do it and all that stuff. What you do now is more in line with what you do than we're wondering why you're going to the movies. So I've kind of always done it. I've just developed it, and we all have that ability. It's just you got to start with the intention. And I would say the other thing is, you know, if you could have one strategy that would make the biggest difference, it would be changing your identity, because that's the most powerful thought you can have. It's who you think you are, because you'll live up to that identity. Unfortunately, most people are choosing identities like, I'm manic depressant, I'm bipolar, I'm a rape victim, I'm an incest survivor, I'm a cancer survivor, I'm an alcoholic. All of these things is that those are all disempowering, you know, which means they steal your power away, identities, and you'll live up to it. But if and stop telling the disempowering stories of your life as well, how you were raped and how you were doing this, because every time you do that, you have to relive the experience, which just makes it stronger in your head. And so you're really getting raped over and over again, you know, even though the perpetrator is not even there anymore.
Right.
And I always say that disempowering stories create what I call drama glue. They keep you stuck in your story, you know, and then they keep the rest of us stuck listening to you. Instead, only tell the empowering stories, because all great achievers were visionaries. You know, if you study like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone or all these people, you know, why are their stories so fascinating? Well, because they came from nothing to produce something. So they started in the same place we are. But the thing is, if you listen to them well, they were all visionaries. So I've known Stallone since I was 18 years old. Sly, you know, he'll tell you that I always knew I was going to be a movie star. He doesn't say actor. He says movie star. I've been friends with John Travolta since 1983. He says, I always knew I was going to be a movie star. Well, guess what? They are. Listen, I've worked with Arnold Schwarzenegger and I've had lunch with him. You read his biography. As a kid, you know, he knew I was going to be the #1 bodybuilder in the world. And that is going to launch me into the movies. And I'm going to get to move to America. All those things he's done because he told the empowering stories, not I live in Austria after World War II and it's impoverished and nobody makes it from here and this is going to be my destiny.
Right. But you can use your story to empower other people if you overcome it, right? The key is moving through some of that stuff, because you know I got a fairly, you know, dramatic type story too, but I've overcome it, lots of health issues, and I'm trying to develop that into a way to be able to empower other people to do things differently. I mean, we're all a work in progress, right? You know, nobody's ever arrived. But you know, the things that I've come from and that I've been through, I kind of tell that story, but that's different than you're saying is living in that disempowerment.
Well, if you're telling it for teaching purposes, as long as you're not getting consumed by it yourself as you're telling it, then it's an empowering thing. But that's not where most people are doing. You know, they use it as their calling card. You know, I went through this and that's my life. When people read How Would Love Respond, a lot of times I get contacted and they go, your life is way more screwed up than mine, man. If you can do it, I can definitely do it. And I just say, you know what, God puts me through this stuff so it gives me better seminar content.
Right.
Because just because I went through a helicopter crash and, I've been married 3 times, so obviously I'm not an expert in everything. And the two of my wives, one of them got pregnant with my best friend, and two of them cheated on me. One of them is the mother of my child, and we're great friends. We just figured out it didn't work as a married couple. But the thing is, I don't carry baggage from it. I don't say all women are this or marriage doesn't work. All the rest of the stuff is, I look at what's great about this. Well, first, 3 beautiful women asked me out and married me. Um, there's people in wheelchairs who don't even get a date. So why am I feeling bad? I don't. And I'm not desperate. Life is what it is. I have a blessed life, actually. So if you're going to tell your story, make sure you tell the transformational part of it. And that's the biggest highlight of it, is not here's me and I'm a victim. Instead, okay, that's what I went through, and then expand on the transformation and how you got there, because that's going to help people make the difference. And that's what you're doing, Bruce, and that's awesome. And I commend you, man. By the way, I've known people who've lost their children, and all kinds of things. My helicopter story, that's just my story, but I couldn't imagine losing my son. That would cripple me. I mean, I don't know how I would deal with that.
Right. I mean, you look around, if I think I have problems, all I need to do is look outside. There's people that are way worse off than I ever was. And so, yeah, we have to, count those blessings and not wallow in being a victim. That's the thing is where you live. Because where focus goes, energy flows, right? We got to.
Well, and there's laws of physics that everything I teach is in the laws of physics. That's why it works for everybody. It's not lucky or special or the 13th zodiac sign or a special chromosome. It works for everybody because it's cause and effect. Well, one of those laws is the law of polarity, right? So everything has to have polar opposite sides in order for it to exist. So which one are you paying attention to? Which one are you participating in is going to create what you're going to get in life. So I have gratitude, like even for the challenging times in life, even the helicopter crash, because I'm still standing. And I say, man, if that's your toughest shot and I'm still here, you bring it. But it's also the challenges of life that bring our life value, because they teach us, they make us grow, they force us into growth. You have to. So there's the polarity. You want to be a victim or a victor. And it's one or the other. There's no neutral. It's one or the other. And so I go, well, I'm going to choose being a victor, not a victim. And I'm going to start looking at stuff with gratitude and appreciation, even the challenging times, because I'm still standing. There's people who didn't make it today. By the way, there's somebody your age and my age, Bruce, who's not on the planet today. And they didn't think they were going to die either.
Right.
So I'm still standing. I made it 62 years already, and I'm still here.
Right. I'm double nickel in a couple of weeks. I'll be 56. So yeah, I should have been taken. There's multiple times I can see where I should have been taken out, and I'm not. So I'm right there with you. I'm still here, and I'm still kicking. God obviously has a plan for my life and for what my purpose is, and I'm still working to excel in that and be the best that I can be. That's why I'm so focused and so want to impart to everybody how important the personal growth is. Everybody thinks it's all about the success and the money and all these different things, and it's not about that at all. It's so much deeper and so much more impactful that in your life, the holistic support, having a good relationship, having good health. We always want to measure success, right, by the stuff, and that's not the stuff. And that's one of the things that really kind of slapped me upside the head in your book when you talk about. And I don't want to give away all the keys in your book. I want people to go check it out themselves. But the 3 things that you take with you out of this life, right? The love you give, the love you receive, and the experiences that your soul takes. So that's I want to experience so much more, and it's not about the stuff.
Well, look at Sylvester Stallone. I just saw an interview with him. By the way, if you get a chance to watch his documentary, it's awesome. You see the man, you see the humble man and what he's had to go through. But he talks about that, don't go to the grave easy. Put the fight on, have goals, have dreams, expect more out of yourself. And the interviewer says, does that keep you young? And he goes, it keeps me feeling young. He goes, I look in the mirror, I go, who stole my face? He said, he goes, time's going to take stuff away from you. So, but you got to put the fight on, and you have to have alligator skin, because people are going to chew on you. They're going to try to knock you down and rest of the stuff. You have to have thick skin about this because that's life. You think everybody's, this is all kumbaya and let's hug trees and stuff. That's not the way it is. Some people are downright malicious and want to ruin your day. That's just the way it is. So number one is I don't associate those people. I
Right.
select who I hang out with. And just by the way, just because you're come out of the same womb as people doesn't mean they're supposed to be your best friends either. My sister hadn't talked to me for 20 years. She was pissed off I was successful. I asked the audiences, do you think I'm upset by that? And they go, yes. I go, no. Two unhappy people never creates happiness. She can be upset by herself. Now, we've reconnected over the years. She's a wonderful person. I've always loved her. It's just that I've always, because I have 5 brothers and a sister, I've always been known as the weird one, because I was different. I thought differently. I act differently. But it's the weird ones of the world that change the world. It's the majority that waits for it to be changed.
Oh, that's powerful right there. Say that again for English and louder for those in the back.
Yeah, no, so, well, if you look at, anybody who's made a difference on the planet, we're always known as the weird ones. I mean, imagine the guys, whoever it was invented the TV, we're going to capture your image live in a thing called a camera, send it up to a satellite that's going around the world at 17,000 miles an hour, and then beam it down to a television, a box in your room, and you're going to see things live from around the world. And they go, okay, before you put the joint on, pass it around first,
Yeah.
It was weird. Now, it'd be weird for somebody not to know about TV, or imagine talking about the automobile when everybody's riding horses, and people would say, what, you can have like a petrol station on every corner? Now it's the guy in the horse who's the weird one, right? Who's going down the street. So it's the weird ones that change the world. It's the majority that waits for it to be changed, which, by the way, is known as victim mentality. We're always deemed as the weird one. So what I say, Bruce, is if you're one of the minority, one of the weird ones, celebrate it. Celebrate being weird. Because again, it means, and I know you are, because that's what makes you a victor instead of a victim. And it certainly makes you a free thinker because we've had to. So my brothers and my sister never liked me very much. Why? Because I was weird. So if they would have, and it would have been all nice and cuddly and everything, I may have never left Chicago because it was too easy to stay there. Because I had nothing to stay there for, I went to LA and there was no way I was going back. So even when I was starving and living in my car and the rest of those things, there was no way I'm going back to Chicago because I got nothing to go there for. It's a great city. Winter sucks, but I didn't have that family unit to rely on, and to get coddling from. I love my brothers and my sister. We're just different. And the funny thing is, anybody who meets my family, like wives I've had or whatever, like we get back to Australia and they go, where did you come from? Like you grew up there with that?
You're adopted.
You're you? And I go, but that's life, man. I mean, so choose the people around you that support your happiness and your love and empower you. Make your environment, because we're a product of our environment. So create your environment and then select those people who, because by the way, Bruce, the purpose of our life is to enjoy it. It's not any more difficult than that. If you enjoy this lifetime, at the end, you'll go, that was awesome. If you don't, you'll go, what was I thinking?
Sure.
I get so, caught up in stuff that has no value now. It has none. So look at your life as if you're 85 right now, giving yourself advice. What would your 85-year-old self say? He goes, well, with the cheating wives or whatever. Well, that's not even your real wife. It's just a relationship you had. Your real wife, you spend like 35 years with. You just haven't met her yet. And, you want to kill yourself. And, 85-year-old self would say, why don't you give yourself a week? Maybe you'll think differently. Maybe it'll look differently to you. And by the way, if you're 85, obviously you can kill yourself. So I use that strategy a lot, and it really comes from Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, where he had a mastermind group, and some were like dead people like Abraham Lincoln. And I used to think, is he having a seance? What's he doing? But what he's doing is he's understanding how those people operated because he looks up to them. And then if you ask yourself, well, what would I got ripped off in Singapore for $250,000 by promoters. They stopped my check when I got on the plane. They canceled it, in those days. And I asked myself, what would Richard Branson do here? Well, being a billionaire, he'd go, write it off. Next. That's about all the energy put into it. But because if you look backwards, all you can create is limited. But if you look forward, you can create limitless. So I said, I'm gonna look forward. Well, I've done millions of dollars since then. And those promoters could have made millions of dollars off of me. I hope they were happy with their 250 grand. And by the way, if that taught me how to work better business systems so I don't keep getting ripped off like that, it was worth $250,000 to come up with those security systems.
Sure. No, and then a lot of the people you talk about removing some people being a weird one and potentially needing to remove some people out of your life to be able to move on to that next level, because misery loved company, right? All
Absolutely.
the masses, they want to pull us down. It's like the crab in a pot situation. All these crabs are trying to get out the pot, and everybody's trying to pull everybody down. And so if you have that, if you're that visionary, if you're that weird one, and you say, hey, I'm going to accomplish X, Y, Z, then other people around you who aren't willing to step out say, oh, what are you doing that? You know what? So you end up listening to people who are, broke and, have a dead end situation. And that keeps you from going on through to be able to achieve what you want to achieve in your life.
I was hanging out with Robert Kiyosaki, and he said, Kurek, the most expensive advice you'll ever get is free advice from poor people.
Yeah.
And he goes, they always want to give it to you too. And it's true. They want to tell you about everything they're not doing themselves, but they want you to do it. So the thing is, I only get advice first from people I ask for it from, and two, that they have to have the results themselves, because I want to learn strategy. And so when I was having lunch with Arnold Schwarzenegger, he said, because I'm always interviewing people, I'm always trying to find out. And he said, Kurek, the biggest misconception of me is everybody thinks I'm a self-made man. He said, there's nothing further from the truth. He said, I've had help every step of the way, bodybuilder, movie star, governor. He said, only poor people don't get help because they don't ask for it. And that's why they're poor in mind, poor in spirit, certainly poor financially. He said, I still to this day ask for help. There it is, from the guy who's produced the result.
Right.
And I'm like, in my head, I'm writing all that stuff down, again, which I know, but man, to hear it from a guy and one of the most present, wonderful people I've ever met in my life. When he talks to you, he's more interested in you and what you do than telling you about himself.
Right. No, so you mentioned about being present. That seems, you said that over and over and over again. That seems to be one of the keys. That's how you got that schizophrenic. You were present, which means you're totally sold out into the now, into the right now. Has that been the key or a strategy that you've utilized to be able to accomplish stuff you've done?
Yes, because when you're present, you're tapping into your spirit, and your spirit's connected to the universal intelligence. It already knows everything. And so, the answers will come to me if I just be present and sit there with it as they're talking. Don't have anything going on in my head. Don't have some preconceived thing that once they finish, here's what I'm going to inject. I let people finish, because a lot of times what they're saying isn't really what they mean. But if you listen to their communication holistically, like you're present with it all, you'll get what they're really saying, because you'll pick up their body language, you'll pick up their vibrations, whatever it is. I can't tell you what I'm reading each time, but I just know I'm getting really clear understanding what's going on. And so, like with the guy with the Tourette syndrome, he called me up, and I have it on video actually, and he says, it's worse than ever, Kurek. And I said, that's awesome. And he goes, why is it awesome? I said, because it's about to let go. I go, it doesn't make sense that you're working on yourself and it gets worse. That doesn't make any sense. I said, it's putting its last fight in, so it's going desperate. I said, you're going to call me this week and tell me you don't have Tourette syndrome anymore. He called me 2 days later, and no twitches, no nothing. He goes, I don't have Tourette syndrome anymore. I said, yeah. And he goes, you're not even surprised. I said, no. See, because in life you get what you expect. So raise your expectations, because you'll live up to those expectations.
There's another bomb right there, truth bomb. Yeah, say that again louder in English for those people in the back.
Yeah, so in life you always get what you expect. So raise your expectations, because you'll live up to those expectations. Here's the thing though, Bruce. Most people wish really big but expect very little, and you get those expectations. So raise your expectations, certainly on yourself, what you expect out of yourself, and you'll live up to those expectations. That's called peak performance.
Mm.
That's why Sly's saying, don't go to the grave easy. Expect more out of yourself. Play the game hard. Okay, he's 78 this year. He's still an action hero. That's unheard of.
Right,
He's
huh?
had the best career in Hollywood. I mean, 46 years he's been A-list movie star. He's rocked. 78 years old. I mean, he's still got guns on him. When you're with Sly, he still looks like a movie star. Now, he doesn't look like the movie star he knew when he was 30 years old, but neither do I when I was 18 years old.
Right.
He's got the Tulsa King hit TV show. He's got his reality show with his family. Expendables 4 just came out. That man's still going for it. And I
So,
asked him, I said, you're probably doing all this stuff just to jam in as much as you can for the ride. So he goes, absolutely.
so you talk to him on a frequent basis?
Whenever well, I'll tell you what happened was when I was on stage with Arnold here in Sydney, I just sent some of the marketing material back, and I got a text message from him saying, "Come join me for lunch in Beverly Hills." And so I showed up, and he had Arnold at the table waiting for me just so I could meet him before I was going to be on stage with him. And he said, "Man, have we been following your career, Kurek? Man, you were the crazy kid who had all these crazy ideas, but once you found your frequency." And so through his best friend, John Hirschfeld, who you see in his documentary a lot, John was my Mr. Miyagi. He raised me since I was 18 years old. He's an award-winning writer, director, and I've done like 8 movies with John. And that's how I got to meet Sly. So I get a lot of messages from Sly and stuff through John a lot of times, or if I'm in town, I see him and those kinds of things. And I've been invited to his house for the Super Bowl and Christmas. Matter of fact, one time I was at his house for Christmas, and Elton John was on the piano for 2 hours, and the rest of these things. And the guy comes up to Sly and he goes, "Why do you got Kurek here? I mean, he's homeless. He doesn't have 2 cents to rub together. He's a piece of garbage." And I go, "I'm right here. I can hear you." And he goes, "I don't care." And Sly goes, "You got no idea who this kid is." In his head, he already is a success. And it's just a matter of time that his results will catch up with his mindset.
And mindset, I think that's the key to everything we talked about, the thoughts. I do a show on Monday. I call it Mindset Monday. It's how you think. It's how, not even so much how you think. All this negativity that's going on in the world around us. Isn't it really about how it's not the stuff, it's how you respond to the stuff?
I'm going to give you the formula so easy, Bruce. You're going to go repeat that one for the back row. Number one, with the right mindset, and you develop new skill sets and you have follow through, what can't you do? Right mindset, which would be attitude. And the attitude is, I need to learn some new skill sets, and then I got to follow through on it. And you're going to do that through education, application of the education, and then follow through. Well, you can have anything and everything you want with that simple steps. And people, it can't be that easy. Why is everybody doing it? Well, because they're busy wasting their time asking that stupid question.
Yeah.
Because why aren't they doing it? Because they won't. I mean, you could give people a free bar of gold, and they'll complain they got to carry it to the bank. I'll
Right.
probably have to pay tax on that. Just in ways, and oh, sure, it's probably not worth what it used to be. And I'm like, oh my God, it's just free gold, man. I mean, I see people, I pick up coins off the ground, and I put them in a thing, and then I give them away to charity at the end of the year because I have a big bucket of coins. And people go, that 25 cents isn't even worth 15 cents like it was when we were kids. Why waste my time? Oh my God, abundance is sitting right there in front of you. It's free, and you won't even pick it up.
Absolutely. Nope. There's some people ain't happy unless they're pissing and moaning, complaining all the time.
Yeah, because they get attention, and then they translate that attention to being love, and then they got to go in more and more drama because the old drama doesn't get the attention anymore, and their life is on a downward spiral, trying to get this attention. Learn to get your attention other ways. Unfortunately, or uniquely, maybe we don't get the same level of attention by being happy and being positive because people love their drama. By the way, reality TV, there's nothing real about it. It's all scripted and it's all built to be drama, right? Big Brother, I met the original producer of the first Big Brother in the States. He said, "Kurek, we have 80 cameras going, 24 hours a day. We can't cut together 30 minutes of content because when people have nothing to do, they do nothing." So what do? Big Brother just supplied the closet with alcohol, right? Because they know now we're going to have drama. And then they cast those people so that they're going to go at each other. There's going to be sexual tension. There's going to be the gay person and the person who hates gay people. There's going to be the racist and the black person, or whatever that is. And you're going to have drama. Here in Australia, we had Big Brother, we have Big Brother, or had it. I don't know if it's still on. And at 2 a.m, two guys and a girl, they're goofing around. They've been in the pool. They've been drinking because Big Brothers are buying them alcohol. And the guy teabags the girl, which means he put his testicles across her nose. She's laughing. There's no rape. There's no sexual inappropriateness. They're young, like 20-year-olds who do stupid stuff, and they're drunk. Well, all of a sudden it's in the paper the next day and all over TV. Now, nobody's watching Big Brother, but guess who released that footage? The producers.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, guess what? That kid almost got a sexual predator charge on him and almost had to join the sexual predator, where you got to register. Almost ruined his life they're set up to do this stuff because nobody's watching Big Brother at 2 a.m.
Right.
But it's a setup. So that's why when you said turn off the TV and throw it away, that's actually a great idea. I mean, I don't watch the news because it's not real and it's not my world. And people go, well, your head's in the sand. No, Buddha said, be the change that you want to have happen. So I got to keep my mind clear because I have a 12-year-old son. He's my everything. I have 3 choices in today's world. That I leave him in this world, and I apologize for leaving him in a world that's going south and without his dad once I'm leaving this planet, that he's going to fend that for him by himself. 2, it's called murder, take him off the planet so he doesn't have to suffer. That's not going to happen. Or 3 would be change it. Well, you can't change it if your mind is polluted with everything going on because pretty soon it overwhelms you and you say, why even make the chance? Because you can't. It's too late.
Right.
But guess what? Somebody had to be Martin Luther King. Somebody had to be Jesus. Somebody had to be Gandhi. Now, I'm not comparing myself against them, but if you watch the documentary on Martin Luther King, he didn't want to do the job either. That man was having terrible anxiety attacks. Terrible. The last night in Memphis, he's having such bad anxiety attacks, he can't even do the speech. They announced Martin Luther King won't be here tonight. He comes in anyways after, they've already announced it, whatever. He shows up anyways because he goes, if I don't do it, nobody will. And if you look at him, he's looking in the audience. He's looking for a gunman. He knows he's going to be taken out. They've been threatening his family and his kids and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then the next morning they shot him dead. But at that speech, he says, guess what? Just to let you know is I've already created the movement and it's already underway and now you can't stop me anymore. And they took him out the next day, but guess what? His movement's still going.
Absolutely it is. So
and if you look at racial tension in those days, it looked impossible too.
Oh, I know. I mean, and that's like we talked about in the very beginning. That's the people running the planet, if you will. That's their number one play in their playbook is division, right? You talked about vaxxed, unvaxxed, white, black, rich, poor. All these they want to divide us so that we can't come, unite and come against them, so we can have a better, more free, more holistic type of life here on the planet that we're supposed to have. Not this stuff that's what it's turning into. It's just becoming insane what's going on out there. You're almost better off. I mean, sometimes I think to myself, I'd be better off just going up into the mountains and just being by myself, but something keeps me going. Not, wanting to do that. There's something more out there. There's more people that I can affect if I stay in the fight.
That's why I live on my farm on the Sunshine Coast of Australia, because I have a cushion around me where I don't have to listen to people's drama. I don't have to listen to people how they tell me how their life sucks and their partner sucks and their kids suck and life sucks. I insulate myself, but the powers that be right now, they may have bigger weapons than us, but we have more people. And if we unite and we get together, we can turn this bad boy around. And by the way, that's why Thomas Jefferson and the forefathers of America gave us the right to bear arms there, because and if you study what he said, you will have to take your government back because power will corrupt them. So I want to give you a fighting chance because we're originally against the redcoats, we had pitchforks and axe handles and stuff. and we had to ambush patrols and then kill them and take their guns from them. By the way, now that would be called terrorism. Back then it was called freedom fighting.
Right.
But the thing was is that, if we unite, we have the mass, we get the power. And the power is going to come from the youth, because youth inherit the earth. And by the way, the youth through education ended communism, because in Buda and Pest, they were two separate cities in those days, separated by the Danube River. They believed in communism stronger than anybody else. Everybody puts in and everybody gets something out. And then they realized through education that system doesn't work, because the fat cats, the leaders, they're driving nice cars, they got the food, they got the health clubs, and we got nothing. We're starving to death. So they created a resistance, created their own flag. They would distract the tank, and other students would jump up on the tank and put the flag on it. Well, other tanks would see the tank and destroy their own tank, thinking that it was taken over. And it was said once communism ended in Budapest, it would deravel around the, dissolve around the whole world, because of what happened from these students in Budapest who never raised a gun, no bombs, nothing. They did it with education. And guess what? Communism fell apart everywhere around the world because people saw it didn't work. And that was from students.
Awesome. So I want to share the screen real quick, just show people the your website so they can go there for themselves and get information. You got a newsletter that you put out. You can get, grab your copy of How Would Love Respond. Like I said, I got the audio book, and it's transformative. I tend to concur with the Transformer moniker, but all kinds of videos. And I love this quote too. My job is not to teach you content, is to create real lasting change in your life. I mean, that's where the rubber meets the road. I mean, you can hear all the different, positive success principles, universal laws, and all this other stuff. But until somebody actually puts that stuff to use, that's where the change comes in. So you can go here. You got a Life Success Club people can join up for. You got all kinds. Here's where you get out of your bad mood. The free 3-part video series. You can sign up for that. So I highly encourage everybody to go to kurekashley.com and check out his stuff. It is well worth the time. And I appreciate you taking time out of your busyness to share with me. And again, I think I'm holistically happy that Robert made this connection with us. So how is it you hook up with Robert? Do you have any inside information, some stories that you can tell me about Robert?
I met Robert when I worked with Anthony Robbins back in the early 90s. And we just stayed in touch over the years. I've been on his show a few times, and just a great guy and just a lovely man inside, and walks his talk. And, again, that's the people that I surround myself with. And then, business and life, it's always about building and nurturing relationships. And so that's one of the things, because one of my Kurekisms is, if you're not networking, you're not working, right? So, and that's through building and nurturing relationships. And Robert's just a wonderful guy, and what a great show he's got going now. And I'm a huge fan of his. And I think I saw him on LinkedIn or something. I said, hey, if you ever want me on your show, he's like, sure. Oh my God, have you in about 2 seconds, man. And I'm like, yeah, great, man. Awesome. So great man.
All right, Brett, appreciate it. So again, go to kurekashley.com. All the information's in the description of this video. I want to end it here. Thank everybody for hanging out with us. And be the change that you want to see in the world, right? You can transform, you can change, you can be whatever you want to be. One of the universal laws that I love is the law of resonance, which says the universe isn't going to give you what you want. My mom always used to tell me, wish in one hand and spit in the other. Which one's going to fill up first? So we can wish all we want, but until we're actually willing to take the steps necessary, that's what's going to make the change. So thoughts, actions, results. Again, I thank you, Kurek, and appreciate everything you've done, you're doing, and continue to do. And again, thank you for your time.
Thank you. And anytime you want me back, I'd be honored. And certainly come to Australia. I got a guest room. You'll love it, man. You probably won't want to leave.
Oh, I probably won't. And the wife,
stunning, man.
I can hear my wife in the background saying, when are we going?
I got a guest room, got a big pool. I got 14 acres, man, and 220-degree views, man. It got cockatoos, koalas, everything on the property, kangaroos. It's amazing.
Yeah, my wife says she's on the way.
Well, make sure she brings you too.
All right. I'm going to end the stream here. make sure you go there and check it out. And we will see you. Let's see, what's today's? I don't even know what day it is anymore. It's Wednesday. Yeah, tomorrow, Thursday morning, we'll do the morning viewpoint with Poppy. So check us out, 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time.